What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for episode 26 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. And first thing I gotta say is, yo, was I on acid when I watched this episode, bro? Like, this episode was batshit insane. This episode was peak JoJo. Like, I'm watching this episode. You guys will see some of my reactions. I did do a reaction for this episode because I just had to see how this little mini arc with weather forecast and Anastasia just had to end, given how batshit insane the last one was. I was like, am I on acid? And did I somehow get on some drugs or something before I start watching this episode? Am I actually seeing what I'm seeing? Because this episode, man, was absolute insanity. Also, I love Jolene's new outfit. I love what they did with her, with her prison jacket. We'll talk more about that once we get to her part of the episode. But yeah, man, this episode was absolutely fantastic, man. And yeah, let's just jump right in. So we start this episode off. We're already in like the middle of some street with both weather forecast and Anastasia. Now, which is I thought was kind of jarring, a little weird, given how the last episode ended with Little Red Riding Hood and them on a bus. I figured the episode was gonna pick up right where it left up, but no, they just cut right to this. And Little Red Riding Hood is like nowhere to be seen in the episode, never mentioned. So kind of weird that they ended the episode off with that scene being the final shot with the book of for Little Red Riding Hood when she had no, was never going to appear in the episode. I don't know if that was in the manga originally. Maybe their production just cut that part out or something. But whatever the case may be, yeah, they're already randomly in the street. Weather forecast is obviously trying to figure out where the stand user is, mentioning how this is a lot, that this doesn't make any sense, illogical even, but that he knows that the stand user is somewhere around here, but he can sense them. They're far away, and he can see them moving in like towards north or whatever. But obviously, but they want to go check. They're going to need to be a lot closer to him than they already are. And so then we see Anastasia. He's now on some car on the back of some truck. He gets out there and finds his body and starts to run towards him. He tells him like, "Get back here, body!" and then I guess Anastasia's actual body. I'm gonna be real. This part of the episode make no damn goddamn sense. This was never really explained on how any of this is working, but whatever the case may be, it's JoJo. So he finds his body. His body, mind you, his actual body, he has been separate. His spirit has been separated from his body. Has now somehow between episodes has gained sentience. Because up to this point, I'm pretty sure his body was just like just a corpse, just kind of lays around there because the spirit isn't there anymore. It's just a husk, But somehow it is now, as Gage Simmons sees Anastasia, the real Anastasia, coming towards him and starts running away from it. Yeah, like I said, this really made no goddamn sense in the episode. Like, I'm like, how is any of this working? And then we of course have the owner of the chocolate shop that can see him perfectly, even the weather forecast couldn't in the previous episode. Like I said, I don't know if there was just some content that David Production just cut from the manga that better explained any of this, or if this was how it was in the manga. Either way, this shit was not very explained very well, if you ask me, in my personal opinion. Anyway, Anastasia comes running towards his body. He's wondering how the hell weather forecast can't see him. He tells him to leave his body to him as he continues chasing after him. So then we see these kids, which also, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention with the OP that I did mention originally in the review for last week that I noticed is that you guys know I mentioned the OP it kind of ends with a callback to the first OP with Jolie and Jonathan running towards him. Well, I also just noticed, I didn't notice it originally, but just like Jonathan, Jolie also has like that fire drive that Jonathan had in the first OP as well. So that was another really nice callback to the original JoJo OP. So just want to quickly mention because I did mention in my review last week and I just noticed that. But anyway, or a couple days ago, actually, as I'm recording this, not last week. Anyway, so then we see these kids like, oh, hey, look, it's Batman. Now, they never actually show the Batman logo or nothing, I'm assuming for copyright reasons. But either way, this kid says, hey, look, it's Batman. And then Anastasia, this man runs right through this kid. He runs right through. The kid is sent into the goddamn road, and this man does not stop for a millisecond. He keeps charging onto his body. This honestly just made me laugh out loud, man. So, Anyway, then he runs past this candy shop, this chocolate shop, and the owner of it's like, "Oh, how dare you come back here after what you did? I'm calling the cops. Don't you move!" And he closes the door. And he closes the door to his shop closed while he pulls out a phone and starts calling the cops. And if you pay attention to the background, you can see a poster for one of these fairy tales. I believe it was Snow White as well as the one that he has in the back of his. The poster he has in his store, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Anastasia tells them like, "Hey man, you tell me I was already here," and the dude's like losing his shit, and he offers, and Anastasia offers to pay him off, offer him some money for some information. He's like, "Are you saying this doesn't cover anything? Look how you and look what you did to my store. It's not like I have a wife to help run these places." And we see the store, and it's been completely ransacked. Although, if you were paying attention to the background, you can see as Anastasia is holding cash, you can see Diver Drive fiddling through the man's cash register, grabbing his cash. So I'm not sure if Anastasia was trying to steal his money or steal this money to give it right back to him to bribe him some more. Either way, I just thought this was funny that as this is going on, you have a Diver Drive grabbing money from his cash register. Anyway, after all of this madness, two cops show up and come out here to check out Anastasia. I'm assuming they probably got the complaint or whatever, and say that they look like one of the escaped convicts, and they have a picture of Anastasia, and he tells Anastasia to turn around. But then as the cops turn around, we can see Anastasia's body is running through the back entrance of the rest of the shop. And he says, "Oh, so you're telling me he was in the fucking chocolate shop all this time?" And we see him run away. The cops keep telling him, "Hey, you'll show us your face." One of the cops starts to grab at his gun, and then that's when Anastasia turns to face him, and Anastasia's face is completely different. He changes up his voice as well. The cop's like, "Oh, sorry, sir," and he runs through the back entrance to go after him. And we find out that he used Diver Drive to put chocolate into his skin to change his face up so they wouldn't recognize him. And then he later spits it out. And then as he runs to the back entrance, we see on the news board something about Kenshiro was also disappeared, which I remember correctly is the main character from Fist of the North Star, if I remember correctly. Which I think actually JoJo Part 1 and Fist of the North Star were both publishing at the same time in Weekly Shonen Jump, if I remember correctly, when they were both in the manga. So this might have been a little tip of the hat, a little homage to a past rival of Araki's while he was writing Phantom Blood. So I thought that was pretty cool that Fist of the North Star had a little cameo appearance. So he gets to the back entrance, he's looking around trying to figure out where his body went, and that's when the chocolate shop owner now becomes Prince Charming. He's on his white steed with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, this entire episode made no goddamn sense, bro. Like I said, I thought I was on acid the entire time I watched this episode. Anyway, then he notices his old grandfather clock, some voice coming out of it, before he just absolutely kicks it and destroys the clock tower. Fuck clocks, I guess. Anyway, then this sheep comes out there and says, "You bastard! How dare you hit my brother!" And then he turns around and sees these cut up body parts of the sheep that I'm assuming were part of that Anastasia wonders if were part of the chocolate that we put into his face and he spit out, if these are somehow connected. And then the sheep kind of continues on with this story about how the big bad wolf came, which I was kind of shocked that the big bad wolf was from this story, because everything I've heard, at least from my memory, Big Bad Wolf was from Little Red Riding Hood. Maybe they're both from, I don't know, maybe it's the same thing for both of them. I'm not sure. I've never heard of this story a day in my life, at least that I can remember. But yeah. Anyway, she continues on how the big bad wolf came in there and he was able to convince them to let him into their home. He slaughtered them all except the youngest brother, because he hid in the gold grandfather clock. And then this, for a children's story, this gets weirdly graphic, because she then continues that the mom comes back from the slaughterhouse and then cuts open the big bad wolf with fucking scissors to get her babies out of him, removes his intestines, and replaces them with rocks so that he sinks in the water, in the lake or the ocean, or whatever the fuck she said. I don't know about y'all, but that's shockingly graphic for a children's story, bro. I'm like, Hey, yo, this graphic for a children's story, bro. Is this what we telling kids these days, bro? And so this next line I thought was pretty funny. We said, "That's enough reading. No more stories." As he grabs the book, and we found the title of this called "The Wolf and the Seven Sheep." And so then that's when he starts to transform into the Wolf Man. He starts to transform into a werewolf. Cue all your there are two wolves inside me memes or whatever the fuck it's called. You know. It also got like his werewolf design looks pretty cool. I kind of like the little bits of the fur that come out of the parts, his long ears. Looks pretty cool. I dug the werewolf design. So then, weather forecast runs past this guy by the name of Vincent Van Goosh, if I'm pronouncing his name right. Who at first I thought he was voiced by Connor Sea Dog VA, if you guys know, and at first because of how his voice sounded, I thought it was Connor, but then the more he talked, I'm like, oh wait, no, hold on, that might be J. Michael Tatum, and for a while I couldn't tell. I was more leaning towards it was probably J. Michael Tatum than it was Connor, but you know how similar their voices can be if you guys are longtime subscribers and fans of Connor, whether from his videos or from Trash Taste. So it wasn't until I checked behind the voice actors and I checked for myself, and yes, he is voiced by J. Michael Tatum, which is also pretty surprising to see because, at least to my knowledge, anyway. I don't know if he's done. I don't know if he's done this other times as well with other series. But this is the first time I've ever heard him in a non-Funimation dub, which was surprising to see because I like he's a big VA, one of my all-time favorites. I love his work, but I never heard him in anything outside of Funimation series. Probably due to the fact Funimation's based out of Dallas. He probably lives in Dallas or in the Texas area. Well, Sentai or not Sentai. Sentai's also based in Dallas, but like Aniplex, Viz, Crunchyroll, all of them. Maybe not so much now since they bought Funimation, but whatever the case may be, most of the other anime dubs are based out of LA. So, and I'm pretty sure Bang Zoom is based out of LA as well, and that's where they get all their cast from. So it was kind of surprising to see that he got there. I don't know if they flew him out to LA to record this episode. He recorded it from his house, his home studio, or whatever. They did this all remotely. I don't know, but it was pretty surprising and pretty cool to finally see J. Michael Tatum in a dub outside of Funimation. I thought that was pretty cool to actually to see him in another productions dubcast. So that was pretty cool to see. His performance was fantastic anyway. So anyway, it's many tangents aside. I wanted to quickly mention because I was like, is that Connor? And honestly, that would have been pretty cool if it was Connor because I know he's a big JoJo fan. But I mean, if I remember correctly, Connor has his favorite part is Steel Ball Run Part 7. So who knows? And he lives in Japan now, so who knows? Maybe he'll be working double duty with auditions and try to get a role for either the Japanese and the English. We'll have to wait and see on that. I've got to root for Connor because I'm sure he's going to be going hard after roles for Part 7 because he loves that part. He loves JoJo. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be working overtime with auditions for Part 7, hoping he gets somebody. But we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm rooting for Connor, though, because I'm sure he's going to try his best to get a role for Part 7. Anyway, many tangent aside, he asked him, he's like, oh, do you know where the library is? He's like, sorry, I don't know. Sorry, I can't help you. I'm not from here. If I wanted to help you, I couldn't. And that's when he introduces himself. And then that's when he pulls out this razor blade and says that last time he cut his ear off with a razor blade. And then that's when he also asked him if weather forecast was ever moved by his work because he says he was like go self portraits. And then we start to see weather forecast split into two. We see a spirit whatever the fuck it is leave from his actual body. We see him get split off, and now he has been brought into the story. It's like, yes, you were moved by me. Once again, J. Michael Tatum's performance here was fantastic, man. So then we get back with Anastasia as this cow can say that mother's on his way, and then we start hearing the scissors coming in. I'm thinking fucking Scissor Man from Clock Tower is about to show up. I mean, at this rate, can you blame me for thinking Clock Tower, that Iraqi would throw in Clock Tower just for the lulz? The man destroyed a goddamn clock, for God's sakes, like not even a minute ago. So we see he's like, you bastard, as we see her slicing the scissors together. You can see it in the shadows. Honestly, it's like, all right, bitch, you want some? Come get some. But then her shadow sort of disappears, and we start to hear the sheep inside on a stage. We hear them coming from inside him, being like, oh, mom, we're right here. She's like, what the hell did you just say? And then out of nowhere, the mom shows up, rocking fucking scissors, ready to slice this motherfucker into two, bro. I'm like, am I, like I said, once again, I question to myself, am I high on acid or LCD or something of the sort? What the fuck is fucking happening at this point, man? So anyway, we then get another news report that says That's not just that's also expecting like England stuff when we start seeing their paintings of the Mona Lisa. Also, the same phenomenon starts to happen with them as well. And we get back with weather forecasts where he starts to know that he can sense the stand user and that they're from far away. They're heading through to I believe he said north, and that they're going at incredible speed, and that there's and they got to be and he thinks that they're in some sort of vehicle. So then Van Gogh Portraits asks him how many self portraits do you think he made? Do you even know? And weather forecast tells him, hey, stay away from here or I'll beat you up. He grabs the razor blade from his hand, and that's when it starts to turn into a paintbrush. And we start to see these little like paintings start to appear weather forecast's face, as Van Gogh says that there was approximately 40 self portraits he made, and they said they left them as a window into his soul until he eventually cut off his ear. And then, at the ripe age of 30, after he had already cut off his ear, he decided to kill himself by shooting himself with a pistol. And then a bullet fires off from the paintbrush, going right through his head. And the next time we see it, it is now turned into what looks like some like 1800s looking like pistol or something. It definitely doesn't look like anything that was made in like by like around the time that Stone Ocean takes place. This looks like it was like the 1800s kind of looking pistol. I don't know. I could be wrong. This was from like maybe World War One or something. I don't know. I am no weapons expert. Either way, it is now turned to a pistol, and that's when he says that he actually didn't die from the first one. He actually shot himself twice because he didn't die the first time. So one more shot from that pistol, and weather forecast is bye bye. So he then uses his stand and tells him to stop any cars on the highway. They're up north. They're up north like 35 kilometers. I think is what he said, with an intense heavy rainstorm, which they do. Which funny enough, he does cause it, and then all the cars basically just instantly stop. They like all like kind of like swerve to the side, stop, and just stop right then and there. Because the rain was that strong. But then back with Anastasia as he then like completely shuts the door, fuses the door with the actual wall itself, thinking that they can't get in. But then the door starts to peel off like pages, and then we see the mother goat coming right towards Anastasia, suddenly growing like 10 tits all over her body. I have no idea how any of this is even possible, and then starts to try to attack it. But then the goat like turns into like paper, like folded like paper before just going right back at him. And they say yes, it's definitely a story, because then she like cuts him open, and the baby goats come out of him, and this whole part of the episode is just absolutely sad, man. As the goat once again continues charging towards Anastasia with these fucking scissors, saying like, "Oh, it's just like the story. It's just like the story." That's when Anastasia realizes that he cannot beat these ghosts, and uses diver drive and basically drives them right outside the window and lands right on the police car. And so right as he's about to go inside, well, bam! They come back and cut him up once again. And then and this is when they start to say like, "Oh, we need more rocks. We need more rocks." And I assume they were gonna start shoving rocks into him, bro. Like this entire episode was absolute insanity, man. Like I said, I questioned if I was on drugs or something while I was watching this. Anyway, he said, and then we get another F bomb in this episode where Anastasia tells him, "Kill the fucking stand user." So yeah, I'm very curious to know if this ever turned out will they would bleep all these F bombs or not. But whatever the case may be, we're back with weather forecast, and that's when he starts to realize that the stand user is now going from north, and is now going the opposite direction, is now going south, and that's when he realizes that it's in the sky in a plane. And then Skune, I'm just calling him Skune because I forget what this guy's actual name is, and he has the same WVA as Skune from Bizarre Adventure, so fuck it, I'm gonna just call him Skune. So then we see him, he's chilling on the airplane. He's got his headphones on. He's like, ah yes, I have now defeated them. I have no the only disadvantage my stand has that it can only affect that it can only hit me directly for me to get damaged or whatnot. So he's chilling there. We see outside the window, fucking Aladdin is out there with his magic carpet, and the genie, which for some reason is green. Don't know why it was blue. Well, not blue, but I don't know. Maybe that was a Disney thing. Unfortunately, no, there was no Arabian Nights like Arabian Day as he appeared, which would have been nice, but honestly, that's all Disney. That would have been pretty cool if they did something like that, man. With like when Aladdin was outside the plane, that would have been pretty cool. So we get a flashback to the night before with Father Pucci with the rest of the Sons of Dio as he calls it. Which when I look at these guys, it reminds me a lot of like the final members Dio had around him for Stardust Crusaders. If you guys remember when they finally got to Egypt, I'm assuming Araki did this on purpose as like a little callback to Stardust Crusaders, and we know Dio and Father Pucci were best friends and all that. So I'm sure this was all done on purpose, calling them the Sons of Dio. It might have even been called the Sons of Dio and Stardust Crusaders. Not entirely sure. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So he then said, so Father Pucci compares that statues being attracted to one another and always end up coming together, very similar to reproduction. And the way this man described reproduction has to be one of the best ways I've ever heard reproduction be described. Seriously, shouts to Young, yeah, man. His performance here was fantastic, man. As we even see like the CGI sperm cells going into the egg and everything. And we get a close-up of the Joestar birthmark that now Father Pucci now has. And then we get some more narration from Skune. So like before he was wandering aimlessly, but now he's like, fuck drugs, now I know that my entire life was leading to getting this power. Which, it was pretty jarring to hear Skune say, fuck. So yeah, that was interesting. So he celebrates like, yeah, man, fuck drugs. I've got this new badass power. I've won. You know, he thinks he's hot shit. He thinks he's already won the battle. So weather forecast starts thinking that he's lost because the plane's going at 400 miles kilometer, and even the fastest hurricane was only at like 220, I think is what he said. So there's no weather phenomenon he can use to stop this. So then he turns right back to Van Gogh and tells him, "Don't go near that pistol. If you do, I kill you." So he runs away from him, but that's when the police car comes in there, and Anastasia comes right out of it. He gets hit by Anastasia, and they start falling towards the pistol. But then he gets close to the pistol and fires a second bullet, and then we both see Anastasia and weather forecast both start to melt away. And as this is going on, they're like, "Yeah, this is just like the story." And so as this all going on, we go back to Scooby, which we find, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but we find out what a Stan's name is. It's Bohemian Ecstatic. So I think we can all assume that the original Stan's name was Bohemian Rhapsody. Another Queen reference for you guys. If you guys remember, Kira Stan in Part 4 was Killer Queen, or Deadly Queen as it was known in the dub. Anyway. So as he's listening to his music or whatever, he notices that there's this little girl next in the row across from him reading a book, and is reading Aladdin, and like it has Aladdin's in there on the book. Everything is fine. She's reading it out loud. Which also, I gotta say, one thing I found weird is that he's in this plane with this little girl, and there's literally nobody else in this plane. Like, where is everybody? Where are planes this empty? I just thought this was odd, especially for like a little girl to be there with no parental supervision at all. Just a little strange. So he's kind of like wondering what the hell's going on. He grabs the book, starts looking at it, and we get back to weather forecast, where he had Van Gogh create a hero for him to defeat the fantasy creatures. So yes, in order to defeat these fantasy creatures, Araki pulls a Deus Ex Machina out of his ass to defeat them. Which I just thought was funny. It's just like the most JoJo thing ever to like have fantasy characters come back from their stories into reality, and then have Araki use a Deus Ex Machina to defeat them. So I just thought it was pretty funny and kind of meta. So this hero is able to basically sucks the creatures in and basically puts them back into reality. So it sucks up Yo, it sucks up the goats, and eventually sucks up weather forecast and Anastasia, and they all return back to their bodies normal. So then we're back with the little girl, and she's like, "Hey, give me back my book." And then we see Skune, and the dude's basically gone brain dead, basically. He's just like... He's basically turned like into like a vegetable. They say, and the thing says that he was like that he's been back to despair beyond recovery. That's like the one thing I've noticed about Part 6 I've been kind of weird about, because, in most of the other parts, whenever you have like a stand battle going on between the main characters and the enemy stand user, usually they always end up dying or something. But for Part 6, almost everyone has gone to like be back to despair beyond recovery. No enemy stand users have straight up died in Part 6, I've noticed. Well, there's been a handful, but not as much as there usually is in other parts of JoJo. But that's something I've been kind of noticing with Part 6. Anyway, after that, we return to Romeo's house, which it took me a second to realize that was Romeo and that was Jolene's ex-boyfriend from the beginning of the series. It took me a second but then when I realized, I was like, oh shit! you fucked, bro. She gonna fuck you up because I'm expecting that we're gonna get a 7-page Muda, but with Jolene and Auras, that's what I thought was gonna happen. I was starting to get excited. Like, oh yeah, let's go, let's do this, man. Because we haven't really gotten a major like Aura scene in all of Part 6, which we've gotten this in basically every other part of JoJo. Star Wars Crusaders had that with Steely Dan. Of course, Part 5 had its thing. I think there was also one for Part 4 as well. So I'm like, all right, let's go off, Araki. Let's do this, man. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Although, who knows, maybe saving that for later on in the series. But alas, we did not get a 6-page order or nothing like that. A little disappointing. But anyway, he gets inside his house. Jolene is already there, and she asks him what car he's driving now, and he's still driving the same car before. Then the camera pans away, and she's of course doing a JoJo pose, which also looks kind of ridiculous to her, but hey, it's JoJo. I do gotta say, I love what Araki did with her outfit. He changed it up a little bit, where now she actually did keep the prison jacket, like I thought, before, which I'm glad to see that he did still kind of keep it, because I always thought that looked good and kind of completed the look. Now she's wearing it as like a little mini cape on the back of her behind her. She has like belt going on that looks pretty good, and she also has looks pretty good. I like what Araki did to change up her outfit. It looks really good, man. I like what he did. And that's when, of course, Romeo starts to realize what happened because this man starts sweating buckets, shitting bricks. He knows he's done fucked up. Jolene starts to back away, so he's to stay away from the phone. And then he starts getting all this shit. Oh, Jolene, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm trying to get you to. And the entire time I'm hearing you two talk, I'm like,
I smell bullshit.
so I'm like, yeah, bro, this is bullshit. He starts crying and everything, like, I'll turn myself in so that you know you were free, so that you know you were innocent. I'm sorry, Jolene, for everything I've done. I'm like, bro, stop this. We know you're full of shit. But Jolene kind of puts her hands on his face. We see her tongue, or not tongue, her thumb glide across his tongue, which didn't know why she did that before, but later in the episode we find out why. She says she's not angry anymore. She doesn't hold a grudge against Roman for what happened. She knows that this solves a major plot against her. So all is good between Jolene and Romeo, but she asks for some money and some car keys. And he says, yeah, sure. And the dude says, oh, but I only have $1,000 on me. Yes, $1,000 in cash. She's like, who the hell, rich or not, who the hell carries $1,000 in cash on them? I know the dude's loaded and everything, but I feel that's but who the hell keeps $1,000 of cash just on them, on their wallets or whatnot, man? You know what I mean? But whatever the case, maybe he hands her the car keys and the cash. He says this is plenty. And then he's like, please. And then he's like, no, Jolene. And he's like, please come back to me. And then when we cut back from Romeo, we see that she's gone. Yes, yes, ladies and gentlemen, she has pulled a Batman on us, ladies and gentlemen. Funny, because they've mentioned Batman a handful of times in this episode. So she starts walking away. We find out that she actually copied his tongue with one of Hermes's stickers, and then right as they got out, he was already calling the police. And just like Hermes, I'm like, yep, he snitches on us. I'm thinking Jolie's gonna go right back in there and beat the shit out of him now, but she lets him continue. She's like, oh, yeah, I told you he would snitch on us. And then right as she's about to rip the sticker off, we find out that he actually doesn't betray her, doesn't sell her out, and saying that, no, that's impossible. She didn't visit me. She called me asking for money, but I denied her, but I turned her down, and that she said she was coming towards Mexico. Now, at first, I'm like, why is he even calling the police at all? Even if you're telling, wouldn't that just do more harm than good that you even remotely talk to them? But I'm assuming what he was trying to do was get the cops off her tail by putting them in the completely opposite direction from where Jolene was going. So I'm assuming that's why he actually did call the cops and basically told them and basically tried to get them off her tail. That's at least what I'm assuming he was trying to do anyway. So yeah, she's like, oh, you look at that. She didn't betray you anyway. But then Jolene rips off the sticker anyway, and then we hear him screaming. So that was nice. which I just also completely forgot he was voiced by Clipper. And seriously, there was a lot of Funimation VAs that made appearances in this episode, man. Bit of a Funimation reunion we had here, ladies and gentlemen, JoJo. Anyway, and while we got all this going on, Emporium, he's like, oh, look at here, they got it, your ex-boyfriend's loaded. He knows that they have a helicopter, he's getting all excited, he wants to steer it, he wants to see what it's like compared to bringing in all the books, And we end the episode off with them basically taking the helicopter and saying they can get over to Cardinal Canaver in like a few hours. We then end up having a post-credit scene where Father Pucci meets up with another one of the sons of Dio, basically asking him and begging him to fix his eye because it's like droopy and it only goes down and never goes back up. And that's where we get the whole to be continued. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the episode ends. Fantastic episode, man. Love Jolie's new outfit. Like I said, I thought I was on acid throughout the majority of this episode as I was watching it. Looking forward to the next one, man. And yeah, looking forward to seeing where this is all going and what's next for it. I'm assuming he's going to be the enemy stand user Jolie and the others will be facing off in the next episode. But anyway, guys, overall, I give this episode a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. Just for the abstraction insanity for the first half, man. Seriously, that was insanity, man. And of course, the stuff with Jolene was amazing as well, man. Would have liked to see a 6-page mood or something like that. Would have been nice, but oh well. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you like it. Links to the below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.